Hello, I hope you're doing well today. Today, I'm very excited because we are going to be comparing the SOTA toys, the Jada toys, and the Storm Arena Sagat figures. This is a video I've been excited about doing since before I even started my channel. I've been sitting on these two guys, haven't opened them for the past couple of months, and this Storm Arena Sagat just came in the mail like today. I'm taking my lunch break off of work to do this video. I'm just so excited to get these guys open. Before I do, I'm going to take a brief look at their packaging. I've already talked about the packaging of these lines at length in my Ken video that you should watch if you haven't seen, so I'll be brief here. Basically, SOTA packaging, it's bright and it's colorful. It's completely wrapped in plastic so that you can't, if you open it, you can't reseal it. The round one figures, or the wave one figures of the SOTA line, had these arcade buttons and things on it. It looked different from the rest of the line. And also, the back was different. It had a different player select thing on the back, and all of this that you see. Yellow background. So, you can tell I got mine on eBay. From rubbing up on the front for so many years, like his eye patch and stuff is kind of scuffed up. So I'm not going to feel very bad about opening this guy. Now here we've got the Jada Sagat. We have the big arcade style packaging with the big window. This figure, you can open him up, you can put him back in and reseal the package, and it'll look brand new. Have some images of the character, the joysticks, the side, one image of the character on the back, and then the rest of the characters. Some more artwork. And then Storm Arena, it's kind of a perfect square, kind of more minimalist. We have this big portrait of the character that takes up a good bit of the box. Smaller window, and with the plastic wrap, you can't really see what's inside too well. This may not be good if you're wanting to display this in box without ever opening it, because then you have the plastic wrap kind of obstructing what you're looking at. The back, we have a bunch of images of the character in various poses, so that is nice. And all right, it's time to open these guys up. All right, and now we have the three Sagats out of their packaging, completely fresh. I haven't posed them or anything other than doing what I needed to do to get them to stand up. Before we take a look at the figures themselves, we are going to take a look at their accessories. We'll start with the SOTA Toys Sagat. First thing we'll do is take a look at his alternate head sculpt here, which is kind of this laughing maniacal face that I love. That's one thing that these other Sagats don't have, is this evil smile laughing face. You can just see all of the detail sculpted in there, the wrinkles and how well it's painted. Got the scar on his forehead, so I love this. Someone could say that it's over detailed, that maybe he kind of looks like an old man. Maybe a little bit if you're being nitpicky, but this is definitely my favorite head sculpt out of all of the figures. So I will definitely have my SOTA Sagat displayed with that head sculpt. Next we have some clenching hands. We can just see the detail in the finger wrinkling and the fingernails, and then just the painted detail. You can see the different tones of his skin. It looks so realistic, so well painted, and you can see all the different colors and the textures in his hand wraps. So that looks fantastic. So that's all of SOTA's Sagat's accessories, is just the hand and the hands and the head. Looking at the Jada Sagat, we have a grimacing face. I think that looks really nice and mean. Not as much detail, sculpt-wise, but it's kind of going for a more cartoony look, you could say. Got the scar. Still looks fairly menacing. And this main part of the head is molded plastic. It's not painted like the other one. So the skin doesn't look as great, but it's still well sculpted. Looks very nice. And Jada Sagat here also comes with a clenchy hand. The wraps here are painted white. Not really much texture to them. There is a little bit. And then you can see some of the details in the fingers there. So that does look nice. Sagat also comes with his tiger shot and a little stand for it. And it's well detailed. It's kind of got a brighter than darker orange. Some flames coming out of the back. It's a bit of a softer rubbery plastic in the back. And I believe that this was, this mold was reused for Akuma's Hadoken. Last thing I want to look at for Jada Sagat is this background, if it'll fit in the frame. You could kind of see it in the back. It's kind of meant to be Sagat's stage from Street Fighter 2. We'll move him out of the way and then take a look at it. So as you can see, it's kind of got like the retro look to it. So there you have that. Lastly, we're going to take a look at Storm Arena Sagat's accessories, starting off with his grimacing alternate head. So both of these Sagats, the new ones, came with grimacing alternate heads, and the original head on the SOTA Sagat was already a grimacing head. So for your information, as you may notice as we continue. And this one is not super detailed either. The skin does look a little bit better, but I don't think I don't think it's painted. I do think it might be a higher quality plastic though. And this just makes Sagat look really young, like a guy in his 20s or something. I don't know. It still looks really nice though. I do think I prefer the stoic heads on both of the newer Sagats, but it's all nice. Here we have got his clenchy hands. All three of them have clenchy hands. We can see the details sculpted in the fingers. And then we got our wraps here, which are more of a gray color instead of the white, clean white that the Jada has. Kind of makes them look a bit more worn. It's got some texture in there and kind of a paint wash in it. So, and they're nice and soft and rubbery, makes them easy to change out. We've also got this effect part here, which is like a flaming kick. It splits in half and you wrap it around his leg. I don't know the name of the move in the game. I can't even recall like him using such a move, but he has this piece here and it looks nice. Got a yellow into a deeper orange. And this is more of a hard plastic versus kind of the softer Jada plastic. We've also got a flight stand for Mr. Sagat here. And this is just the regular Storm Arena flight stand with the clamp piece that goes down. If you want to see me talk about the stands, I talk about it in either my Charlie video or my Dan video, how they work. And then lastly, we have a background for this Sagat here. Hopefully you can see it, but it's kind of like a giant Buddha, I believe. The giant statue that's in the back of Sagat's stage in Street Fighter 2 and Alpha. I'm pretty sure really that this would be like the head to this body that's behind the Street Fighter 2 Sagat. I'm honestly surprised the background for the 2 Sagat is not a lot more similar to the Alpha Sagat. So now we've taken a look at all of their accessories and we're going to take a look at the figures now. All right, finally we get to take a look at the 3 Sagats here. Before we get too close of a look at them, we're going to get some height measurements. So SOTA Toys Sagat stands right at about 7.5 inches. He's a little bit hunched over. Jada Toys Sagat stands right at about 7 3/4. And Storm Arena is about close to 7.5. So, Jada Toys is the tallest. We're going to go ahead and get some other figures out for some comparisons. Alright, I apologize for the framing, but that was the only way I could fit all of these in. Here we have got the Storm Arena Ryu standing up against the Jada Sagat and the SOTA Sagat. And then the SOTA Toys Ryu standing against the Jada and the Storm Arena Sagat. So I hope I said all the names right. So there you go. Yes, I finally have got a Storm Arena Ryu that came in the same shipment as this guy. So I am excited about that. Also, here's the Jada Toys Ryu standing between the SOTA Toys Sagat and the Storm Arena Sagat. And here now we have the SOTA Toys M Bison standing up against the SOTA Sagat and the Storm Arena Sagat. And he actually stands a bit taller on Sagat than I was expecting, so that's nice. We're going to go ahead and change SOTA Sagat out here for the Jada Sagat. And I would say that works fairly well. I do like the height of the SOTA M Bison. Here now we have the Jada M Bison, a bit shorter. Stylistically, I'd say he matches the Jada Sagat fairly enough. Still a good looking figure. I just don't necessarily love the proportions on this guy versus the SOTA Sagat. M Bison, sorry. Here now we have got the SOTA Sagat standing up next to Jada M Bison. So that works well enough. Here we have got the SOTA Toys Vega that stands fairly tall actually above the shoulder of both of these Sagats. We'll take SOTA Sagat out and put Jada Sagat in. Next up here we have Balrog standing up against the two Sagats. Stands about the same height as the Jada Vega, or the SOTA Vega, I think. Maybe a little bit shorter. There you have that. We're going to change this guy out for this guy, so you can see that. All right, here we've got thrown together the four kings of Shadaloo here, with just different figures from each line. Here we have the Storm Arena Sagat. Next, we're going to stick in the Jada Toys Sagat. And now we're going to stick in the SOTA Toys Sagat. Still waiting to get a SOTA Balrog. I'm watching out for deals. Alright, we're going to change it out here. Now we've got the Jada Toys M Bison leading the four kings. Next up, here we have Jada Sagat in the crew. I don't know if I'm going to get a Jada Vega or not. I don't really want to, but it would be nice to complete this little set here. All right, there you have the SOTA Toys Sagat with the four kings. For a Marvel Legends comparison, here we have got the Gamerverse Captain America. Sagat does not appear in Marvel vs. Capcom games, but here you have that. And we'll change out this guy for this guy. Here we have got the Storm Arena Sagat and the SOTA Sagat dwarfing the Jada Toys Chun-Li. Change that guy out. And now here's the Jada Sagat next to Chun-Li. And lastly, here we've got the DC Universe Classics The Question, which actually stands fairly tall. All right, finally I can get a close look at these figures. We're gonna go ahead and start with the SOTA Toys Sagat. Yes, I am very sweaty. It is a hot day here where I live. And overall look to him, I think he looks pretty great. The overall silhouette looks nice. His waist might be a bit thin. It kind of makes him look a little less imposing, kind of more like a bodybuilder than a Muay Thai fighter, but that might be the only thing I don't love. I think that the musculature is all well sculpted and he is well proportioned. We're going to go ahead and take a look at his head sculpt here. We haven't looked at this one yet. This is his face that comes on him in the package with the gritted teeth. And we can see, well detailed. We got lots of wrinkles in there. Nice mean face. We can even see a lot of sculpted detail in his ear, which is pretty cool. So, looks nice. One thing that's really nice about the SOTA figures, they're completely covered in paint. So, the skin has some nice differing tones in it, some blushing and some tan or more pale areas where it all varies. So that all looks super nice. We can see how well detailed his scar is on his chest. Lots of that little texturing there. Mine's got a little bit of a spot on it. I don't know if that's from being kept in the packaging. He has some nicely detailed nipples there, yep. And some veins going down his arms, some really thick veins, all well painted. Here we have the wraps, and I talked about his other hands. I'll say these wraps might be a bit over detailed. I mean, with there's a lot of yellowing to them, and it kind of makes it look like a nasty bandage that he doesn't change out, if I'm being honest. But you can't deny the effort, all that sculpted detail and the paint. Looking at the back, he's got a sick back here. Look at all the different muscle groups with some striations, all well sculpted and painted. And we can look at his trunks. We've got the blue and yellow, just like the Storm Arena Sagat here. So this would be his alpha look. So if you're looking for an alpha Sagat, this guy and this guy are the ones to choose from. Going down, the stripe on his shorts isn't super well painted here. It's not very clean, and you can see kind of the blue disc hinge coming out. But we still have some nice seams and stuff sculpted in, and some wrinkling there. And then like the elastic, I guess, of the waistband. All looks nice. Then we have the wraps here. Same thing, kind of yellowed and nice and gross and textured, running down. And then one thing that's kind of weird about this guy, I've talked about the SOTA feet on like Ken, in my Ken video. This guy, he's got kind of a weird thing going on with his feet. Some nice spread toes there, I apologize. But it's still sculpted and painted well enough. You can see the toenails and all of that in there. So the feet look a little weird, but overall, this guy looks super nice. I'm excited to have him. Next, we're going to take a look at Mr. Jada Sagat. These guys are kind of hard to fit into frame. I apologize, because they are a lot bigger than what I'm normally looking at. So starting off with the head here. Just a regular scowling, frowning face. Nice and mean, not as well detailed, but still looks good. Still captures the character fairly well enough. I think I would have liked to have seen some more squared off features. It seems like that's kind of what it looked like on the artwork on the packaging. Everything's kind of got a roundness to it, which isn't my favorite, but still looks nice enough. Everything is painted cleanly. Looking now at the body, we can see everything is well proportioned. The muscle groups look nice enough. We've got some shaded detail in some of the crevices of his muscles, and we got the scar that's nicely, a little less subtly painted here. Less detailed nipples there, but we can still see some of the striations in his muscles, and that all looks fairly nice. Looking at the back, everything on this Jada figure is a bit more of a softer sculpt, which is what they're going for, so I won't hold it against them, but obviously more sculpt is nicer than less sculpt. Here we have got the wraps on his hands that are like the antithesis to the SOTA one where they're all nasty and yellow. These are like, he just put them on, nice and never used wraps, nice and white, not very textured. There is some gray line work that I guess is meant to run along the edges, and it kind of, I mean, it looks okay. We've got some kind of glossier shorts, Muay Thai shorts here that look nice. I think that's what they were going for. I don't have a problem with that. The line down the side is painted and sculpted well and all clean here. The leg muscles a bit rounded off, not very shapely, but they will do. And then same thing with the feet wraps, white, nice and fresh, and the feet are not as well detailed. But this is still, I know I've kind of said this guy's not as well detailed as the other figures, but he still looks very nice. This is one of the better looking Jada figures, for sure. This is still a cut above what we normally get from companies like Hasbro and McFarlane. So I'm excited to have this guy. And this is Street Fighter 2 with the blue trunks and the red line there. Now, lastly, we're going to take a close-up look at the Storm Arena Sagat. Getting a look at his face sculpt here. Everything is a bit more squared off. Like I mentioned, I would like the Jada figure to have. Again, kind of makes him look really young, but it's nice and intimidating. He's kind of got like an egg head. You can see how thick his neck is down there. It's thicker than the top of his head. I think it looks pretty sick. Everything's got a nice shape to it. I apologize for the lighting as well. Still not my best setup yet, but we're working on it. Looking at the body itself, I don't want to say there's as much sculpted detail as the SOTA, but there's more than the Jada. I think it strikes a nice balance. All of the muscles are very well defined and squared off, have some nice shape to them, versus the roundness of the Jada. We can see the scar there. I would say texture-wise, this might be the most realistic maybe. The SOTA might be the most realistic, but scar looks nice. If I had a scar ranking, I'd probably say SOTA Jada this guy in order from best to worst if you wanted to know my scar ranking. We have some nice shape to the muscles here, some veins in the arms, very subtle nipples. Looking at his back, a lot more defined than the Jada figure, and look at his triceps too. We can see the little striations in there as well. I'm so excited to have this guy in hand. Looking at the wraps here, we kind of got a grayer looking wrap that kind of strikes that balance of not like rancid but also kind of clean, and it's got some texturing in there and some subtle shaded detail, almost like a wash in there. So that looks nice. The trunks are a nice matte finish like the SOTA Sagat. I should say that this guy and the SOTA Sagat especially have a very nice matte finish. It makes them look very good. Part of that for the SOTA Sagat is because he's completely painted. This guy's still got some molded plastic, but he's still less glossy, I would say, than the Jada figure. See the wrinkling in the shorts, everything is painted cleanly. Got the lines painted cleanly there. Looking down at the legs, a bit more definition, a bit more shape. The lower legs may be a bit long. That may be trying to stick to the style of the Street Fighter Alpha games. I'm not entirely certain, but it might affect posability a little bit with just the way that he stands. We'll see how that is. Then we got some more detail in the wraps here, and the feet. Toes are nice and tightly squeezed together there. So yeah, all three of these guys look fantastic. I'm excited to have all three of them. I don't think any of these are going anywhere. For me, I think I will definitely be holding on to these guys. Sagat is one of my favorite Street Fighter characters, so I'm excited to have one of each of these. We're going to now take a look at how they pose. Starting off with the SOTA Sagat, he's kind of hunched over, so that's going to make like looking up kind of difficult. But looking down, he can look down fairly well. He's going to be able to look down Ryu nicely. And I believe he's got a double ball peg in there. He gets a fair bit of tilt. It doesn't tilt very well when he's looking off to the side, but it will tilt when he's looking forward. So it works well enough. No neck joint here like the other two figures. Here we've got some ball disc shoulders. perfectly round, like in the style of the SOTA figures of the time. Gets about 90. You can probably push it farther. I'm not going to try to push it farther. We get our rotation here, and it'll get 360, but I don't want to chip anything or anything like that, so I'm going to be careful. Here we've got a bicep swivel, and then a single jointed pinned elbow here that gets 90. He's got a nice big thick arm there. Looks good. Here we've got our wrist hinge and a swivel. Sometimes these wrists do not want to swivel. These figures are pretty old. Just trust that it's there. Here we got an ab crunch, pins again. I hope that this will crunch. Yep. So Sagat will crunch that far forward. He can raise his head up to look forward while being hunched over. The sculpt is continued in the back there. And he'll crunch this far back. Again, he can look down at you. And with that, he can look way up, in case you want him to. And the sculpt for the scar is continued. So that is good. Waist swivel is there. Here we have some ball disc hips, classic. He will get his perfect splits there. Love to see it. Okay, I can see how this disc wasn't painted yellow at all, but this one kind of has some yellow paint. So I wonder if this is supposed to be yellow and rubbed off somehow, maybe, I don't know. He gets range that far forward, not great, and then it'll kind of twist off a bit. Here we've got our thigh swivel. Mine does not want to move, but it's there. It functions as a thigh swivel. No thigh swivel under the shorts, it's up here. So we've got double jointed knees, pins, and that double joint is going to allow him to get about 90. I think the sculpt kind of gets in the way, partly of the trunks and the wrapping here. So maybe if we try to bypass that a little bit, he can get a little bit past 90. And then we've got a hinge in the ankle. His foot joint's kind of separating there. Mine's a bit stiff, but you can point the toe that far forward, that far up. Then we have our foot swivel, which is there in lieu of an ankle pivot. Not the best looking thing, but from certain angles, it looks fine. And then lastly, Mr. Sagat here has a pin and a toe hinge. We're not going to use this foot because that's not looking good. We might not use this foot either. There we go. And that is, gets some good separation there. So toe hinge is not the best looking thing, but you might not be able to tell from the front necessarily. So how does this guy pose? I don't buy SOTA figures for the posability. I buy them because they look great. So, and they're a nice piece of action figure history, and it's nice to take these modern figures and kind of see how action figures have come along in the years. So I'll probably have him in some kind of, you can probably get him in some kind of fighting stance pose. We'll look how he poses in some pictures. Next we have the Jada Sagat, double ball pegs in the head and neck. So also I haven't posed any of these. This is how they're going to pose right out of the package. Head looks up that far, that'll work. Looks down that far, all you'll need. Gets a lot of tilt there, very nice. Looking at the arms, we got some butterfly joints. We'll go ahead and just see from the top there, and then coming forward, we'll get some crossover, not a crazy amount though. Next, we got our hinged shoulders. Brings the arm that far up. Sagat came out before, I think Akuma was the first figure to have the ball peg that allows the shoulder to raise even more. So Sagat's not going to go higher than this. We got our rotation, got our bicep swivel, pinless double jointed elbows, gets all the range, and how we've talked about, the bicep really kind of tapers off. It kind of hurts the sculpt to get that much range. I'd almost prefer for it to strike a bit more of a balance. Maybe if it meant he only got this much range versus this much, he had a bit more sculpt in his bicep there. We got wrist hinge and swivel. So that'll be good for some Muay Thai poses. I'll say these guys, I am posing them right out of the packaging, but they might be a bit extra loose because it is nice and hot where I'm at in my shed, 90 plus degrees here. So combining both of his joints, Sagat is going to lean that far forward. Just using the top does a lot of the work actually. You can kind of see it kind of has a little nub in there. Not the best looking. Then going back, sculpt is continued. This is just on the top joint. Then he show can lean back. That's like almost like a 90-degree angle. So here we have got some hips that will kick about 90, and then it can kind of twist off some more. It's got a softer diaper piece, perfect splits. These hips are not drop-down hips, by the way. All of this range can be achieved without drop-down hips. Here we've got a thigh swivel. Double jointed knee that gets, you can probably touch his bottom there. All the range. Got a swivel at his wrapping here. And then we've got our ankle hinge and pivot. And you can rotate the wrap how you need to make that work, and it won't look as much, it won't be as bad on the sculpt as the Jada Balrog was, kind of off-centering the boot with the leg. Anyways, pointed toe that far, and a much better looking toe hinge there. So this guy poses phenomenally. We know this about Jada figures. Or maybe you don't. Maybe this is your first time ever seeing one. That would be kind of cool. Lastly, we have Storm Arena. If you saw my video with Ken, the Storm Arena Ken kind of blew the others away. So I kind of have the same expectations here. We'll see how he does. The Storm Arena Sagat. Ooh, okay. Double ball pegs in the head. Can look up that far. Oh, that neck. Oh, dear. Okay. Be careful there. Can look down that far. Can kind of get some side tilt there, which works nicely enough. Here, the shoulders are on the ball peg socket in the torso, I believe, so that gets some up and down motion. And a lot in the front. We have our softer chest piece, so that is pretty gnarly. We can cross our arms over pretty much completely, and then going back isn't that much, I don't think, and it gets kind of gappy. Here we've got our rotation. The arms are kind of a little stiff. And then he can go above 90 degrees on raising his arms. Bicep swivel there. Sculpt might kind of get in the way of that. Here we've got, okay, we got some double jointed elbows, only gets this much range. And he has a bit more bicep to him than the Jada figure does. Here we've got some ball hinge wrists here. That'll move how you need them to. The sculpting is not continued on the ball hinge there, so there is a bit of a difference. It's expected. It's not a big deal, I would say. leaning forward on the top joint of his diaphragm. He only gets about that far, and then leaning back that far, and then leaning only on the bottom joint. He's got his crunch there. If you've seen my kin video, I talked about it there. I hope I can get him pumped back in. All right, leaning on the bottom joint, we'll try that again, gets that far, adding in that joint. It's not crazy, I think. And Jada Sagat actually gets farther, which is shocking, because the Storm Marina kin blew the Jada kin away with that diaphragm joint. So I don't know what happened here. And then this is popping out really easily. I don't think he's going to get much more lean back on that bottom joint. So diaphragm is not the best. We've got drop down hips here. They're not really necessary. They kind of overcomplicate things, but Sagat here can get 90-degree kick and then a little bit farther if you twist. Soft diaper piece like the Jada, and perfect splits right there. And you can probably go a little bit beyond as well. Here we've got our thigh swivel, double jointed knees that actually don't get as much range as the Jada. The Jada can touch his bottom, this guy cannot. So we're kind of turning things on their head here. We've got kind of a long lower leg, as I mentioned. We have a swivel at his wraps here. It's a bit tight. And got ball hinge ankles with a toe that can point that far forward, that far up. We get all of our pivot there, and our toe hinge that doesn't look as good as the Jada's because of this kind of cutout there that the Jada figure does not have in his toe hinge. So articulation might actually go to the Jada figure, which is surprising. I did not get side to side, so let's get some side to side. That's all Storm Marina Sagat is getting. I'll always forget the side to side. I do apologize. I'm glad I remembered. Yeah. Oof. Pretty wild. So, I was not expecting this. Jada Toys Sagat is the articulation winner. So, we had a winner for different categories. Storm Marina here has got the accessories. Jada Toys has got the articulation, and SOTA Toys has got the charm. Looks obviously are all subjective, and if you're looking for a Street Fighter 2 Sagat, I mean, this is Jada Toys is pretty much your only option. So, is there a Sagat in particular you should get over the others? I've given you all the facts. You can do with them what you will. They're all worth owning. And I said this about Ken as well. I'm excited to have all three of these. They will each serve their own purposes. I would say I probably personally like the look of the Storm Marina Sagat the most, but that is subjective. I can't answer that question for you. But they're each going to have their own places in my display. If I'm going to get a figure out to pose them around, I'll probably get out the Jada. If I'm going to have a figure to look at on a shelf, I have the SOTA. If I want a figure that I can put in a little bit of some poses and look at and he'll look nice, I've got the Storm Marina. So as far as accessibility goes, all three of, so at one point, Storm Arena probably would have been the hardest to get. I'm pretty sure he sold out at BBTS at one point, but he is back in stock at BBTS right now. So you can definitely pick this guy up right now, and I think he comes out at about $35. Jada Sagat actually got on Amazon for I think $30. He was actually on discount, and he was originally $35, I believe. And then SOTA toys, that's going to set you back. If you get them loose with no accessories, probably in the $50 to $60 range. In the box, going to be more. Complete with accessories, going to be more. In the box, definitely going to be closer to $100. I was blessed and I found my SOTA Sagat at a great deal. I got him complete in the box, never opened, in the $60 to $70 range. So the deals are out there. You just got to look for them. So I am excited to have taken you on this journey of this video. This is one that I've been anticipating for a long time. I'm excited to finally have all three of these guys. And I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you learned something. I hope I was able to offer some insight that maybe nobody else has. So thank you. If you haven't seen my other videos, you should go check those out if you would like. And also be sure to check out my series of shorts where I'm looking at one figure from my collection every single day until I've looked at everything I own. So that's been a fun series. You should go check those out as well. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.